With one foot in front of the other, ancient pilgrims turned villages into towns and towns into cities. Oh, you thought pilgrimage was all about religious rituals? Then, I'm sure you want to see how pilgrimage shaped the economy of the ancient world. But before we get started, kindly subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Also, make sure that you click on the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our posts. History of pilgrimage in religion. Pilgrimage dates as far back as the 4th century, and though it could be non-religious, it is one thing that is most common to every religion in the world. In fact, most religions believe that it is an important part of their faith. In Christianity, pilgrims visit places that are most significant in the Bible, especially those that are associated with the life of Christ. I'm talking about places like Rome, Jerusalem, and Santiago de Compostela, said to be the resting place of St. James. It is a top religious location in Europe, and it pulls a crowd of over 200,000 people yearly, contributing stupendously to the European economy. Called Hajj in Islam, meaning to set out for a place, pilgrimage is also referred to as one of the 5 pillars of the religion. And every year, over 2 million Muslim devotees travel to Makkah to perform their religious rites. It is also deeply rooted in Buddhism, and just as in every other religion, Buddhist monks also travel to several locations. They do this following the lifestyle of their principal Buddha, who was a traveling teacher. This kind of religious travel is also called Shalosh Regalim in Judaism, where it is observed as a festival, and Yatra in Hinduism, among other religions. That being said, you can say that pilgrimage is observed as a thing of religious piety, but for some people, it is only a quest for adventure and excitement. In fact, there are several secular pilgrimage locations in the world, including Mount Kailash, the Kumano Ancient Trail, and so on. However, irrespective of the motive and mission, pilgrimage has left a mark on the ancient economy. And due to the significant influx of visitors to pilgrim sites, there was a surge in local economic activities. Most of the pilgrimage sites became centers of trade, and merchants also established markets and stalls around these sites. Consequently, towns and cities near these destinations also thrived economically due to the continuous flow of pilgrims. Now, let's look at the various ways in which pilgrimage made things happen. Employment opportunities. With millions of people trooping into pilgrimage sites every time, needs arose for a larger workforce that would cater to their needs: drivers, tour guides, cooks, whatever profession. I mean, there were lots of needs to be met, and all hands had to be on deck. This created employment opportunities for people in and around the sites, and in turn took the ancient economy to a whole new height. As the years passed, demand kept rising and more jobs were created, and this had a great positive impact on the economy. Trade and exchange. Pilgrimage routes often spanned vast distances, and the ancient pilgrims journeyed for months on these routes. These long days on the road promoted trade between different regions. Some pilgrims buy to resell, and some simply pick up rare finds on their way. I mean, some things are peculiar to certain locations, right? So, these pilgrims purchased whatever they found spectacular. And guess what? The traders seized the opportunity. They provided goods and services for the pilgrims on their long journeys, and this, in turn, boosted the economy, not of the pilgrim sites alone, but of several towns and villages close to pilgrim sites as well. It also brought valuable commodities to areas where they wouldn't have been accessed. See how impactful the pilgrimage was. Craftsmanship and souvenirs. Since the majority of religious pilgrims love to return to their destinations with artifacts and souvenirs, this also shaped the economy significantly. Local artisans and craftsmen benefited from the high demand for religious artifacts and souvenirs. This gave rise to specialized markets for religious art, textiles, jewelry, and other handcrafted items. Aside from the spiritual impacts these creations were said to have, they also had a great impact on the economy. They boosted the income of artisans and traders and also supported local economies. A typical example of this was in the 14th century when Mansa Musa shook the regional economy just by purchasing artifacts and souvenirs. On his one-year pilgrim's journey to Makkah from 1324 to 1325, the Malian monarch stopped over in Cairo. He spent a ridiculously large amount of gold on souvenirs, leaving a decade of impact on the economy. Real estate and housing. With an exponential increase in the number of pilgrims, the need for a functional housing system arose. This need for befitting accommodations led to the growth of real estate markets around pilgrimage sites. This gave rise to the advent of inns, lodges, and guest houses that were built to cater to the pilgrims' lodging requirements. And since these accommodations weren't free, you can imagine how much it helped the local economy. A good instance is the Islamic pilgrimage in Makkah, where all inns and guest houses were usually fully booked during Hajj. This led to the development of local housing markets and encouraged construction, as well as investment in properties. Agricultural and livestock production. In pilgrim sites and surrounding areas, food demand usually hits the roof, and this shouldn't be a thing of surprise. I mean, pilgrims would probably do without any other thing but food, right? Their feeding needs had to be met, so the crop and livestock production in pilgrim sites multiplied. Local farmers and herders benefited from this demand, cultivating crops and raising livestock to meet the needs of pilgrims. But aside from their feeding needs, pilgrims also purchased agricultural products that are peculiar to the pilgrim sites. We're talking about things like fruits, teas, dyes, spices, and seeds. They probably saw this as a way of commemorating their journeys. I mean, most of these items may not be found in their destinations, and it was a good idea to go home with some. Hence, this bolstered agricultural production and started an economic breakthrough in communities around the sites. Infrastructural development. To cater to the needs of pilgrims, local communities and authorities invested in developing infrastructure. They offered comfortable and easy access by building roads, bridges, inns, and rest stops. It was a win-win situation. With the comfort that the infrastructures provided, more people would be willing to embark on a pilgrimage. And you know what that means? More money was generated. It also helped in enhancing connectivity and making the journey worthwhile. The construction and maintenance of these facilities also generated employment opportunities, contributing to the economic growth of the region. Two birds, one stone. Donations and offerings. Pilgrimage was often associated with acts of charity and religious donations. In fact, it is one of the highlights. And with thousands of people going on pilgrimages in ancient times, the donations spanned into millions and millions. As pilgrims made offerings to temples, churches, or other religious establishments, this contributed to the upkeep of the institutions. The donations sustained religious practices and provided a source of income for the establishments. This enabled the religious leaders to also play a role in boosting the local economy. Cultural and intellectual exchange. Pilgrimage also played a major role in shaping cultural interactions and fostering the exchange of ideas, knowledge, and beliefs. Several pilgrimage routes, such as the Silk Road and Camino de Santiago, enhanced the free movement of traditions, innovations, and even languages. This amalgamation of cultures resulted in the adoption of new culinary skills, architectural styles, clothing, music, and dance forms. It laid the foundation for advancements in various fields, including medicine, mathematics, and literature. It also contributed immensely to the development of the civilizations that we now enjoy. A real example of this was the level of prominence that Mali received after Mansa Musa returned from Makkah. Bringing in the best artisans, scholars, and architects, he built several houses, libraries, and universities that still remain in history today. The point is that the result of his pilgrimage put Mali on the global map, and their economy didn't remain the same. After all, it is safe to say that pilgrimage in ancient times was indeed far from just a spiritual journey. It was an economic engine that drove development, trade, and cultural exchange. These journeys created a network of economic interactions. However, this economic vibrancy did not only sustain the local communities, but also played a significant role in shaping the broader economy. Do you think pilgrimage still has this level of impact in today's world? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Oh, also, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to our channel with notifications turned on so that you can see more videos like this.